My dear students, welcome to today's online class. In the last computer science bridge course classes, we discussed some basics, right? We discussed definition of computer, main parts of computer, applications of computer, and of course we discussed in detail where computers are going to be used, right? Means uses of computers in different fields like that. And also we discussed capabilities of a computer, characteristics of a computer, and afterwards we discussed in the last class a very common words which are going to be used in the study of computer. We discussed around 10 to 15 words, right? Very common words like software, hardware, input, output, processing, like that, high level language, low level language, binary language, like that. We discussed some important terms which are going to be used in the study of computer science. So now in this class I am going to start your first chapter, that is first chapter of first unit, unit A. I already told this unit A contains 4 chapters. Unit A, fundamentals of a computer, means in this unit we are going to discuss fundamental concepts of computer. So in the unit A we have 4 chapters. In that, today I am going to start chapter 1. Chapter 1, that is overview of a computer. Overview of a computer means in this chapter we are going to see what is a computer, how actually it works, what are the units, different units of computer system, how it works, means we are going to see how it works, and also we are going to discuss classification of computers, how computers are classified, on what basis computers are going to be classified. For example, on the basis of data processing, means on the basis of how data works, on that basis computers are going to be classified into analog computer, digital computer, hybrid computer, like that. So again digital computer is classified on the basis of size and performance. Like this we are going to discuss we are going to see overview of a computer, right? So today I am going to start with a interesting block diagram of a computer. That is, today's topic is block diagram of a computer. Block diagram of a computer system. It is very important for the exam point of view. He is going to ask with a neat diagram, explain the block diagram of a computer, or explain the block diagram of a computer system. Or the same thing can also asked in this way. Functional components of a computer system. Right? He may be asked a question, explain with a diagram or block diagram, explain with what he is going to ask, explain the block diagram of a computer system, or he is going to ask for explain the functional components of a computer system. It is going, he is in the examination we can accept like this question for 5 marks. 5 marks. Five marks means first we have to draw a neat diagram that contains input unit, CPU, that is a central processing unit, and afterwards it contains a memory unit as well as output unit. Means first we have to draw a neat diagram of different units of computer system, and afterwards we have to explain functionality of each unit. Now let us see the diagram first. First is input unit, right? Input unit, and the next one is this is called CPU, that is central processing unit, and the next one is output unit. Output unit, and last unit, that is the fourth unit, memory unit, right? Right? 4 units: input unit, CPU, that is central processing unit, memory unit, output unit. Now I am going to connect it. Data, right? This CPU contains 3 unit, that is CU, control unit, ALU, CU, take down here ALU, ALU, CU, registers, right? Processed data. See here, just I written a small diagram, simple diagram of different components of computer system. See here, this is called input unit, this is called a CPU, that is a central processing unit, this is called a memory unit, this is called output unit. Listen here, now I am going to explain this block diagram. Okay. Before going to explain this block diagram, just recall the definition of a computer system, because if we are able to understand the definition of a computer, means it is easy to understand the block diagram of a computer system. What is a computer? A computer is an electronic device which accepts input from the user and process on it and produce the result in the form of output to the user, right? This is the definition of a computer. Now, after explanation of this diagram, you are going to understand a clear definition of a computer system. So, what I said, now I am going to explain in detail what this input unit is going to do. What is going on this CPU, that is a central processing unit, what is going on this CPU, what is going on this memory unit, what is the going on this output unit. Listen here, whenever user is going to enter data, whenever user is going to enter data with the help of input devices such as keyboard or mouse, that data is going to input unit. That data is going to input unit, right? Whenever user is going to enter data with the help of input devices, most commonly used input devices such as a keyboard, mouse, that data is going to input unit, right? The next step, input unit is going to accept that user entered information. We all know user is going to enter information in generally in using high level languages, right? Means which language he know. In generally, user is not going to enter data using binary language, right? He is going to enter data using high level language. In the last class we discussed binary language means which is made up of zeros and one. Low level language means which is made up of English commands. High level language means instructions which are made up of English sentences, right? So whenever user is going to enter a data, that data is accepted by this input unit, and afterwards that input unit is going to convert user entered data to binary form, because that data must go for processing, or that data must go for working to produce output. But the computer is not going to understand user entered form. It understands only binary form. That's why whenever user is going to enter data, that data is accepted by input unit, and it is going to convert that data into binary form. Right? So whenever user entering data, that is accepted by input unit, and this input unit have some electrical circuits. With the help of that electrical circuits, data is going to be converted to binary form. So here data is moving, right? I written some arrow mark and I written here data. This is which data? This is a binary form data. This is a binary form data. Means whenever user is entering something, some data, that is not directly going to CPU, that is accepted by input unit, and it converts that user entered data to binary form. When data is in binary form, then that data is transferred to CPU. Then this input unit is going to transfer that user entered data to binary form. Now this binary form data is entering to this second unit, that is CPU. We all know, in the last class I said CPU is also one of the main parts of a computer system. It stands for central processing unit. It controls and coordinates all the operations of the computer system, right? So now just see here what is happening in CPU. This CPU is again divided into three parts: ALU, CU and registers. ALU stands for arithmetical and logical unit. CU stands for control unit. These are the registers. I am going to tell you what is meant by registers. Okay, so now data is in the binary form. This input unit to CPU, data is transferred. It is transferred from user entered form to binary form. Now binary form data is available in the CPU, right? So here it contains three parts: ALU, CU, registers. This ALU stands for arithmetical and logical unit. CU stands for control unit. Registers are nothing but a very small amount of data storage device. Registers are nothing but these are also memory, but the storage capacity is very less, and it is going to store data or instructions which are needed for processing. Okay. Now whenever the binary form data comes towards CPU or to CPU, this CU control unit is going to accept that data, and it decides where it has to go. Either it has to go for processing, or either it has to go for memory, or either it has to go for output unit. Like that, it is going to take care where this data has to be go. It control unit, it controls the data coming to the CPU. It acts as a class leader or class monitor. What is the role of a class leader or class monitor? He is going to monitor the class, right? In such a way, this CPU decides where this binary form data has to go next. Whether it has to go for ALU or register or memory or output, that is taken care by this CU. And next, ALU. ALU stands for arithmetical and logical unit. Means here actual process is going on. This ALU is going to perform arithmetical operations such as plus, minus, division, multiplication, as well as it is going to perform some logical operations. So this comes in the next topic. There I am going to explain what are arithmetical operations, what are logical operations, what are relational operations with examples. Okay. Now just think, this ALU is going to perform some arithmetical operations, logical operations, as well as relational operations. And this registers are nothing but small amount of storage devices. They are going to store very small, they have the capacity to store small amount of data, which are, and they are going to hold data or instructions which are needed for the execution, right? Okay. Now the next thing is, after processing on this binary form, result is going to be produced, right? Result is going to be produced. That result is means data is processed, right? So that processed data is not going to be sent directly on the monitor, because the processed data in the form of what? Binary form. Now this binary form data is accepted by output unit. That binary form of data is not understood to user, is not understandable to user, because that binary form is made up of 0 1 0 1. That's why after processing, that processed data is accepted by input unit, and it converts that processed data to user understandable form, right? How this input unit converts user entered form to binary form, in the same manner this output unit also has some electric circuits that is going to convert processed binary form data to user understandable form. Then afterwards, this output unit is going to display the result, that is result or output on the monitor, because user is not going to understand binary form. That's why this output unit is going to convert this processed binary form data to user understandable form, and afterwards with the help of output device such as monitor, printer, that result is going to be displayed on monitor. Suppose the result has to be stored for future purpose, means that is going to be stored in the memory unit. So memory unit is nothing but it is a place where user is going to store information for future purpose, right? This memory unit also, this memory unit is divided into two parts, that is primary memory and secondary memory. Okay, so that thing I am going to explain in the next class. So here means For 5 marks, suppose question is asked like this: explain a block diagram of a computer system, or explain the functional components of a computer system. Means you have to draw like this neat diagram. It carries 2 marks, and for next 3 marks purpose you have to explain in brief what is happening in input unit, what is happening in CPU, what is happening in output unit, what is happening in memory unit, right? So I am going to explain here once again, just to observe. So after drawing like this neat diagram, explain each unit. Means you have to consider this first unit, that is first one, input unit, and write some 2-3 sentence what is happening in input unit like this. Whenever user is going to enter a data or data, that data is accepted by input unit, and it is going to convert it into binary form with which contains some electrical circuits. With the help of those circuits, it is going to convert user entered form to binary form. Input unit is over. Next, CPU. CPU stands for Central Processing Unit. It contains 3 parts: ALU, CU, and registers. This CPU is going to accept binary form data from the input unit, and it is going to process on that binary form data, and afterwards it is going to transform binary form data to, means processed data to output unit. What happens in output unit? Output unit is going to accept processed binary form data, and it is going to convert it into user understandable form. And afterwards, with the help of output devices such as monitor or printer, result is going to be displayed. Suppose next one is memory unit. It is a place where user is going to store data or information for future purpose by giving some name to that data, that is giving file name, so that it is very easy to access it in the next time, right? So this memory unit is nothing but just it is a space or location where user entered information or result is going to be stored for future purpose. Okay, this much you have to write for 5 marks. This is enough. Actually, this memory unit contains again 2 parts: primary memory, secondary memory. This primary memory also has 2 parts: RAM and ROM. So that thing I am going to explain in the next class. So just see here, block diagram of a computer system or functional components. Explain the functional components of a computer system means you have to draw like this neat diagram with 4 units: input unit, central processing unit, memory unit, output unit, and after drawing this functional components, you have to explain each functional components as I said now, right? You have to explain in brief all the functional components, right? First one is input unit. What is going on in the input unit? It receives user enter form and it converts it into binary form. Next one is CPU. What is going on? It is going to receive binary form data and it is going to process on it and send it to the CPU. Send it to the output unit. What happens in output unit? It is going to accept the processed data from the CPU and converts it into user understandable form. What happens in output unit? It accepts the processed data, that is binary form data, from the CPU and converts it into user understandable form, and afterwards with the help of output device it is going to display it. And what happens in the memory unit? It is a space or location where user entered data or information is going to be stored for future purpose. Like this, you have to explain all the 4 functional units. Right? Thank you, students.